Are you ready for some breaking news that could shake up the Toronto Maple Leafs playoff ambitions? The buzz around the league is that our beloved Leafs might be in the market for a key pivot, but sources suggest it won't be an easy task for General Manager Brad Treliving. With trade rumors heating up, what does this mean for our chances of making a deep playoff run? Stay tuned as we dive into the complexities of this situation and what it could mean for our roster. As we dive into the latest buzz surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's clear that the anticipation is building as the trade deadline approaches. Fans and analysts alike have been clamoring for the Leafs to acquire another center, and while the sentiment is shared, the reality of the situation is more complex than it may seem. Elliot Friedman has been connecting the dots, hinting at potential targets like a strong forward from San Jose, but there's a growing concern about the feasibility of making such a move. Steve Simmons recently weighed in on this situation, and his analysis is worth considering. He suggests that the Leafs may be facing a tough uphill battle as general manager Brad Treliving tries to navigate the trade market. It's not just about wanting to make a move, it's about having the right assets to entice another team. Simmons pointedly notes the lack of valuable draft picks and expresses skepticism about whether any of the current prospects in the organization would be deemed attractive by teams in rebuilding mode. Now, I get it. The frustration as a Leafs fan is palpable. We've seen our team struggle in the postseason, and the thought of bolstering our lineup is tantalizing. But when you look at the reality on the ground, you can't help but feel a bit torn. Do the Leafs really have the tools necessary to pull off a significant trade? It's a question that has many of us scratching our heads. Let's break it down. The Leafs don't have a first-round pick in this upcoming draft, which is a critical asset when negotiating trades. When you look at their top prospects, like Ben Danford, Easton Cowan, and Fraser Minton, it raises eyebrows. Are these players really the kind of pieces that can land a player of Ryan O'Reilly or Brock Nelson's caliber? Simmons seems to think not, and while I understand his perspective, I can't help but feel there's more to the story. Sure, teams in rebuilding mode might not be clamoring for our mid-tier prospects, but can we ignore the potential they hold? Cowan and Minton have shown flashes of brilliance, and I believe they could be appealing to the right team. It's all about how you sell those prospects. If Treliving can effectively communicate their value, maybe there's a chance to snag a much-needed center. As fans, we've been through the highs and lows, and the stakes have never felt higher. The idea of a deep playoff run is within our grasp, but it hinges on the decisions made in the coming weeks. We've seen what can happen when a team gets hot, and the last thing we want is for the Leafs to miss an opportunity because of miscalculations in the trade market. Honestly, I'm torn on this. There's a part of me that believes Treliving has the savvy and insight to make a deal that could elevate this team. However, I also recognize the daunting task ahead of him. The clock is ticking, and the pressure is mounting. Will the Leafs emerge from this trade deadline stronger, or will we be left wondering what could have been? Last night, the Toronto Maple Leafs faced off against the Ottawa Senators, and unfortunately, it was another disappointment for Leafs fans, with a final score of 2-1 in favor of Ottawa. Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't a case of a poorly played game. Both teams showed solid effort, but the Leafs found themselves on the wrong side of some incredibly unlucky goals. Bobby McMann got things rolling for Toronto early on, scoring his 14th of the season just 3:46 into the game. It was a beautiful shot past Senators goaltender Anton Forsberg, and for a moment, it looked like Toronto might seize control. Joseph Woll, in net for the Leafs, was solid, finishing with 21 saves. But as we know, hockey can be a cruel game. After Tim Stützle tied it up for Ottawa, Shane Pinto snatched the lead in the third period with a bizarre goal that ricocheted off his knee from a pass by Matthew Highmore before trickling past Woll. If luck had been more on Toronto's side, Nicholas Robertson's shot at the end could have easily crossed the line, but it didn't. Ottawa held on, breaking their own two-game losing streak, while the Leafs continued to struggle. Let's talk about Joseph Woll for a moment. He played exceptionally well, but that fluky goal, it's tough to swallow. The puck bouncing around off sticks and then off Pinto's knee before sneaking over the line? Just brutal. Despite that, Woll has been a pillar in the net, boasting a record of 17-8-0 with a goals against average of 2.69 and a save percentage of .907 over 24 games. With Anthony Stolarz still sidelined with a knee injury, we can expect Woll to continue carrying the load for the time being. On a brighter note, Bobby McMann is stepping up when the team needs him most, filling in for the injured Matthew Knies He looked right at home alongside Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews on the top line. 7 shots on goal, including 6 in the first 2 periods? That's what we like to see. McMahon has been producing, racking up 5 points in his last 5 games, and his physical play is a welcome addition to the lineup with 69 hits in just 42 games this season. Then there's Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who continues to show his worth on the blue line. He notched an assist last night on McMahon's goal, extending his point streak to 4 games with 1 goal and 5 assists. His steady presence among the top defensive pairings cannot be overlooked. With 61 hits and 42 blocks this season, he's making his presence felt physically as well. Now, let's address Anthony Stolarz being placed on long-term injured reserve. This move allows the Maple Leafs to call up Nikita Grebenkin from the AHL, but it also marks Stolarz's 21st consecutive game missed. The good news? This shift to LTIR doesn't change his recovery timeline, which is reportedly moving along well. We all remember how solid he was at the start of the season, with a remarkable 9-5-2 record, a 2.15 GAA, and a .927 save percentage in 17 games. Can we please get him back in the crease soon? Looking ahead, the Maple Leafs will be looking to bounce back when they host the Minnesota Wild on Wednesday. They've dropped 2 in a row now, and while the performances haven't been terrible, the inability to find the back of the net is concerning. Is John Tavares the missing piece in this puzzle? Despite playing well overall, the team is struggling to generate enough offense, and that's become a significant issue. Earlier in the season, they found ways to win, even when the odds were against them. But now they have to rediscover that spark. So, what do you think? Is this the right path for the Leafs? Honestly, I'm torn. There are positives, but the inconsistency is frustrating. I want to hear your thoughts down below. What are your expectations for the upcoming games? Are you confident in Woll stepping up, or do we need more from our veterans? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on everything Toronto Maple Leafs, and make sure to activate that notification bell to get all the latest updates. Let's keep the conversation going, and as always, go Leafs go!